Mufasa closes the gap on Sonic 3. Sony Pictures CEO points the finger at everyone but himself, and Warner Brothers makes release changes ahead of 2025. All this and so much more on this episode of Beyond the Screen. Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Ryan Gum. I'm going to be your host today, and I am joined, as always, by the ever-important Jacob Holtzclaw. Jake, what's up?
What's going on, man?
Absolutely nothing. It's a good day. As you can hear at home, we're in the same room again.
Yeah, I was in town once again, and we have come together. I have bought a new mic, an XLR mic, dynamic. It's crazy, and that's why we probably sound a tad different.
Like for the third straight episode, we sound different, and we don't have to jerry-rig anything. We could just plug straight into the mixer this time. Last time we Discord called and weighed like wires everywhere to make sure you could hear us both. But now we have our own mic. We're not around the campfire anymore, sharing one bright red USB mic. We're professionals now. We've upgraded in a week. But anyway, this is convenience, is what I was going to say earlier. I think it's hilarious that you're like, yeah, I was in town, so we had another. Yeah, our relationship, our professional podcasting relationship is strictly of convenience.
Yep.
Never, we hop on a call because I'm not doing anything else Monday night.
No, I forgot my mic at home, met my parents halfway, and halfway happened to be his place.
And it's convenient.
It's convenient.
Hey. So thank you guys for showing up. We're going to go through the first segment, which is box office news, as always. You might notice in the near future, there might be some changes moving around with our show going into 2025. Speaking of changes, this is our last episode before the new year. One of the last episodes before the new year, as we'll get into in a little bit. So, 2025 going to be a big year for us. And you might notice a few changes with the show structure. So stick around and please be patient with us.
We've got big ideas.
Yeah, we got the dismount prepped. If the landing, that's going to be the question. But
we'll see.
Yeah. But right into box office news. Starting off strong, Mufasa and Sonic continue throwing haymakers in the box office, with Mufasa looking to close the gap after a less than ideal opening weekend. Now, if you remember last week, you'll know that Mufasa did not do so strong. They were almost less than half.
All right, man.
Hey, listen. Again, 2 weeks before that, we made a bet, and as I said last week, I will say it again. So far, I'm reaching across that table all dramatic like and pulling the Beyond the Screen bucks back my way because we bet it all, and I'm winning.
Okay,
but
tell them the estimates.
Not as strong, not as strong as we usually are, though. I'm starting to get a little nervous because if you've paid attention to anything box office numbers, you'll know that Mufasa had an insane holiday weekend. Mufasa closing the gap on the 5-day holiday weekend, our last 5-day holiday weekend we saw at Thanksgiving. Christmas had a very similar, it's weird, Christmas and Thanksgiving were on the same day, both on Wednesday, which led to massive weekends for a number of films. This go around, we had Mufasa and Sonic going into week 2. Mufasa wins a long Christmas holiday 5-day weekend with an estimated 61 million from Wednesday through Sunday, including a 14.7 million Christmas Day haul, which is insane. That's a big number for one day, especially for a day like Christmas when you think people would be not going out. People are still going to movie theaters specifically to see Mufasa, while Sonic trails just behind with an estimated 5-day total of 59 million. While Sonic might have lost the 5-day million, here's a really interesting little point here. Sonic won the 3-day weekend. Traditional Friday to Sunday, Sonic beat Mufasa, but Mufasa still leads. What do you think of that?
I think we've got the resurgence that comes with what we see with the first Lion King. So the massive global hit that it is and the longevity that that movie had, I think it will translate to Mufasa, and Sonic will probably trail off, and then Mufasa will remain for a week or two longer. And then they'll both drop, and we'll have the next top box office.
It just makes me wonder if like the difference is this is Christmas, right? So it's like, are kids begging their parents to go see Mufasa or Sonic? Is Sonic geared towards more an adult audience? I know, like Jim Carrey being in the movie, I'm more interested in Jim Carrey than I am Mufasa, but would a child, as we've said in many episodes leading up to this point, children kind of run media, especially film and YouTube, for example. So do you think that maybe children, especially being out of school, off of a traditional week, wanted to do something special for the holiday, do you think maybe that is what has influenced the 5-day win for Mufasa?
I'm wondering, because I've not seen either, I don't know in terms of maybe some parents are keeping their kids from watching Sonic for rating stuff. I don't know if Sonic's a little more violent, but I mean, we're talking about lions here, so maybe they're both kind of like that same level of rating, violence-wise. But maybe that's a key factor. Or like Christmas Day, you said, if more people are going to see Mufasa on Christmas Day, is that because it's more family-oriented, or like
Yeah.
what? Because I've not seen either, I don't know what Sonic. Is really about, nor do I know what Mufasa is about. That's a new story as well.
Right. And I don't really think anyone will know until some really smart individual comes out with some metrics as to what age audiences are listening. And the only reason I ask is because, again, Sonic won the 3-day weekend, but the overall 5-day weekend from Wednesday through Sunday with the holiday, Mufasa won pretty handedly. Going back to the 3-day weekend, Sonic earned 37.5 million versus Mufasa earning up to 35, which is still pretty tight.
Yeah, and you can see that there's we're looking at numbers here right in front of us, but the theaters, so 4,100 theaters are showing Mufasa, whereas 3,700 are showing Sonic. So a lot of those theaters will overlap, but Mufasa is being shown in 400 more theaters.
Yeah.
So will that mean something longevity wise? Maybe.
Yeah. And as I said earlier, I'm starting to get a little antsy, a little nervous about my prediction. Maybe I reached across that table and pulled the Bucks back towards my way a little too early. Because as we were saying, so Sonic through Friday, Sonic earned 100 million domestically, which is a huge feat less than 2 weeks before or after its release. Mufasa is right behind it at 88 million, just over 88 million, which when you compare its first and second week, not even fully second week, to go from barely breaking half of what Sonic made to being directly behind it, less than 20, that's a big turnaround, especially when the metric was 65 to 35. Now it's 100 to 88. Mufasa's very, very quickly closed that gap in a huge way, really. Other films have been released throughout the holiday season. One, in particular, Robert Eggers' Nosferatu opened to an estimated $40 million 5-day weekend, holiday weekend, I should say, with its best day being Christmas, earning a little over $11.5 million. Wicked and Moana 2 remain in the top 5, with the former sing-along edition also debuting in theaters on Christmas Day, earning a respectable $5.4 million. With the hoopla surrounding the sing-along versus non-sing-along debate earlier this year, are we surprised Wicked's sing-along edition didn't perform better?
Perform better. I'm not surprised that it didn't perform better. I'd be surprised if it performed worse. Like I think the amount of people, the what is it called, the recurring audience that would come back for a sing along version is probably those super diehard fans. I think you lost a lot of people, especially over Christmas, because I'm not going to necessarily go back and see a movie twice, especially on that holiday. But something that I'm actually looking at here, you see with the gross change over week for Wicked and Moana 2, it is actually up, both of them, 37%. So the holiday week did help them both over last week. I mean, plus 37% worth for gross money. So, and what's interesting is they're 0.4 away from each other.
Yeah.
So I think that is a decent clue to show that the audiences are the same. That people are probably going to see the same movie, maybe even two, both movies at the same time.
Yeah, and like I could have I think anyone could have predicted like Moana 2 and Mufasa would have kind of like gone back and forth and kind of like pulled at each other, and maybe like even what you're saying that the same audience would be seeing Wicked. However, just like I said before, with the hoopla, like the big debate, whatever, I would have assumed that Wicked would have really pulled in a lot because a lot of people love musical theater. Kids love sing-alongs. Kids love musicals. You have all these people who are fighting to sing along every single time they go see this movie. This was their day, specifically when you compare it to other films that did way better. Nosferatu earned 40 million, 11.6 on Christmas Day. Wicked only earns 5. That's shocking to me. That's a little surprising. I would have really assumed Wicked with the sing-along would have done a lot better. Maybe not to the 40 million over the weekend as Nosferatu, just with the competition with other of the same genre. But I mean, it's surprising to me.
Maybe it didn't have the, I guess, like a Frozen-esque soundtrack to back it up. Maybe the soundtrack wasn't that appealing to the younger generations.
Could it also be Burnout?
Maybe.
People are tired of hearing of it. I mean,
yeah, what's the next thing?
Well, we were just in the theaters, right? Like we had talked about for many weeks, Mufasa and Sonic, Mufasa and Sonic. So maybe that's playing into it. But also, we were just in the theater. I mean, spoiler alert, me and Jake went on a date. We were watching the movie. And you'll hear about that in a little bit. But as we're in the theater, one of the previews is of the Google Pixel versus the iPhone. And what are they riffing off of?
Wicked.
Wicked. So maybe just the overall like media frenzy that is that over the past month, maybe that's played a part in why it's, I don't want to even call it re-release, but like this special edition in theaters.
I mean, it's been out for 6 weeks. I mean, that's a month and a half that you've been talking about, Wicked. So, and then Moana 2 is right there at 5 weeks.
Yeah.
It's been a month. So.
Yeah. I just would have expected more for something that is like, once again, it hits that audience where the rewatchability is high. It hits an audience that is not only children, but families and theater kids. So, they're all going to go back multiple times in theory. Now you have the specific version that pops out that's like, oh, now you can have like, we talk about we're the fun police. Don't do this in theaters, don't do this in theaters. This version is specifically made to say, hey, do whatever you want. And no one took advantage of it. Or I should say no one, $5 million, dollars worth of people went and saw it. But
overestimated the theater kids, I guess.
Overestimated the theater kids. They fought their fight, and they're laying down their arms.
Yeah. So
theater kids.
Sad to see, but
yeah,
you win some, you lose some. What's next?
Like you and your bet for Mufasa. Anyway, moving on. Searchlight Pictures, a complete unknown, starring Timothée Chalamet, and A24's Baby Girl, starring Nicole Kidman, each open up a 5-day holiday weekend total of $22 million and $7 million, respectively. Each looking for a potential Oscar run with their each individual release. Jake, looking down the top 10, are there any movies that you're shocked about? What stands out to you?
We've got another A24 studio coming out. That's Baby Girl, which will make... How many movies have they come out with just like the past 2 months alone?
A lot.
3,
yeah,
maybe
3,
4.
maybe, I think 4 counting the 2 on this list.
Yeah, so dang, A24. They just churning them out. And as we've said before, they aren't just remakes or stories you've heard before. A24 comes out with new stories, and if they've churned out 4, they must be it must be worth their while to keep coming out with these movies. And then Gladiator's still holding on pretty well. And then top 10, number 10 is The Fire Inside, which I am unfamiliar of, and it doesn't have a distributor behind it.
I'm seeing a lot of films on here in this top 10. Excuse me. A lot of films on this top 10 that are really gearing towards that Oscar run. It's right before the new year. Oscars are in March. Holiday season's rolling around. A lot of people are going out and seeing movies. You see, again, with A24, The Brutalist is still down there at 14. It did drop from 12. It's only in 7 theaters. So the fact that it's multiple weeks in the top 15 is kind of crazy. But that stars Adrian Brody. Baby Girl, those two are probably going to be, again, Oscar worthy, or at least getting an eye at for a nomination. I feel, to me at least, A24, we've talked about in the past week, like, okay, like they don't seem to really be pandering the way that Universal, the way that Warner Brothers, the way that blank, blank, blank big major distributors do. To me, it almost feels like they care more about the awards and they care more about telling a meaningful story than they do, per se, making $1 billion, which could be to their own detriment. But yeah, it's interesting to see. Jake, any final thoughts before we move on past box office news?
I've got nothing other than I'd be interested in checking budgets on A24's, all their movies, seeing what they actually grossed after they're out of theaters. And if it's truly not a money thing, then yeah, I guess they are after awards, and hopefully they have the benefactors that care about awards only and not return on investment.
Yeah.
I've always been wary of those who make money and with or doing things without return. Be wary, like that Honey fiasco. Yeah. If you're not caught up on it, Honey got into some hot water. PayPal's not doing so well.
Describe what Honey is for those at home that don't know specifically what they are.
Honey was a browser extension that promised
coupons
to give users coupons and save them money. And it has just been recently ousted that they were basically stealing the money from content creators who gave out codes to their subscribers for sales on different products. And they would change the cookies within the browser to say Honey gave them that code, and then they would take the commission off of the sale of the product. So it'd go straight to Honey and PayPal rather than the creator. So
fun.
Remove Honey, everybody. Sorry to get a little outside of film news, but
no, it's okay. A24, don't be Honey.
Yeah, please, for the love of God, please be more positive.
And with that, coming up after the break, the Batman 2 postponed again, Keanu Reeves on his John Wick future, and Sony CEO comments, coming up next. All right, welcome back. We're going to hop right in. We're in segment 2, major news. James Gunn has delayed the ever-postponed Matt Reeves sequel, The Batman 2, another year, noting there isn't a full script as to the reason behind the decision, eyeing an October 1st, 2027 release. It was going to release October 2nd, 2026, which is a date you'll hear about again later. Anywho, going to be 2027 before we see this film. Speaking on Instagram Threads of all places, why would you go to Threads to announce or discuss anything? Who's on Threads?
It's the new TikTok.
Is it the new TikTok? No, it's the new Twitter.
Oh,
Why are you there? Why are you there? Anyway, on Threads, Gunn not only stands strong on his decision, but attempts to put more perspective on sequels entirely. He kind of went on a philosophical rant about the art of sequels and why you shouldn't be mad at Matt Reeves for saying it's coming out next year and it's just never happening. Posting, a 5-year gap or more is fairly common in sequels. 7 years between Alien and Aliens, 14 years between Incredibles, 7 years between the first 2 Terminators, 13 years between Avatars, 36 years between Top Guns, and of course, 6 years between Guardians Volume 2 and 3. Should we be panicking that Reeves can't seem to establish a story, or should we all relax and just wait? I ask you, Jake.
I mean, so he's not. I'm fine. I'm not panicking. I would rather him be comfortable and establish a story, and then run with that. If you go forward with a half-baked idea, I don't foresee it succeeding as well as you probably would a full idea. So, am I saddened by a delay? Yes, I really liked Batman, and I really want to see Batman 2. I don't know where I'll be in 2027, but hopefully watching the Batman.
Hopefully. We can only hope.
Yep, or 2028. I
2029
don't know if I'll live
maybe.
till then with mass apocalypse and
As Robert Pattinson said a couple of weeks ago, he might be retired by the time he's done filming the Batman 2. As a joke, hopefully. But I kind of have a little bit of the opposite perspective, because it's like, okay, Matt, this is something you've gone on record to say, hey, we're taking our time with, but I have a specific vision, and it's like, okay, where is it? I can't seem to get it down, right? I think a lot of the things about what Gunn was saying, we didn't like those delays either. When The Incredibles 2 was announced, we were like, where has this been? You notice that Gunn referencing his own movies, Guardians of the Galaxies 2 and 3, that delay was not there between 1 and 2. It was there between 2 and 3, but the thing is, the MCU did not stop between volume 2 and 3. So, I feel like his point's kind of mute, because people still felt the same about those. And in particular, his own films were a part of a bigger universe that did not stop. So it's I feel like the point he's making, I completely get. I think if he was making the point singularly to say, look, it's not weird to have longer gaps. Yes, it should have been made already, but we're trying to do exactly what you said. We're trying to take our time, do our due diligence, and really make a story worth telling like we did with the first one. I would get behind him completely. But for him to be like, yeah, all these things have waited, and the thing is the same problem. People had the same problem with those as they do with this. He's not making a new point. He's just saying, well, you didn't like it then, so I guess, you should like it. It don't matter. This is the norm. And people have been complaining about that for forever. And there are a lot of franchises that have fallen flat after a too long, people lose interest between seasons 1 and 2 or movie 1 and 2. So I think that's kind of where I'm at with that. It's like, look, man, you've got a lot of people prying for this. Your ability to draw hype for the rest of the DCU is kind of what I feel like has kept people invested in a Batman 2, because people have liked what James Gunn has done. But I think his point kind of falls flat when you look at it from an audience perspective regarding the films he used as examples to say, look, this isn't abnormal, which isn't incorrect, but it's kind of out of touch, if you ask me.
So you think he should just pull a trigger on a story and run with it?
No. I just think that the point he's making is, again, it's from a perspective of a filmmaker, not as an audience. If you want to make an audience feel better, you have to kind of tell them from their perspective. Like, hey, this is the business. It's okay. We understand you didn't like it before, but we're doing this for you. Not in that quote, and no quote on Threads did it come out as, we're trying to make the best story. What came out is, we don't have a story. How's that supposed to make the audience feel better?
I guess it doesn't really.
At least it doesn't make me as an audience member feel better.
Not at all. I don't know. Can you wait 36 years for another Batman?
Well,
I guess I have to.
well, yeah. James Gunn is saying I have to. James Gunn won't
Alright.
even be around in 36 years. Hopefully he will, but you don't know. Anyway, moving
Gonna
on.
freeze his head.
Yeah, he becomes Mr. Freeze. He becomes the villain that he's wanting
He's
to
just
portray.
gonna go up on a shelf next to Disney.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah,
Next to Walt himself.
Yeah, next to Walt Disney, you're gonna have James Gunn's head.
Two people that'll save humanity is Walt Disney and James Gunn.
Probably not.
Probably
but
not.
I'm just gonna make a collection of film
Frozen
guys.
heads. They just in my deep freezer. These guys are just waiting.
Yeah, I'm gonna make the most mediocre film with these
With
guys.
all of them.
Yeah.
You're going to pop them
Yeah.
all out and say, you have a job.
It's gonna be too many cooks in a kitchen, and it's gonna be like
Terrible.
a solid 5 out of 10.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Walt Disney has famously, I guess it's more of a theory, but he, in reportedly, again, this is probably not true, but froze his head to be revived when technology has advanced enough to allow him to return. So Jake is saying he's going to steal Walt Disney's head from the very real vault that he is very really held in. And then he's going to wait and convince the rest of these filmmakers to do the same and then bring them back whenever it suits him. And he's going to make the most mediocre film ever.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna set out to make the most mediocre film. I'm gonna really try hard, but it's probably gonna be mediocre.
In theaters near you, 2070.
Mediocre.
Moving on. For those who like John Wick, you might not have the best news because in a sit down with CBS News, Keanu Reeves and Sonic 3 director Jeff Fowler discussed the potential for a John Wick 5. Now, for those who are fans of the series, you might be saying, wait a minute. Didn't he die in the fourth one? We had the same question.
Well, he tragically fell off the top of a several-story building and landed several times on a fire escape, like folded him like a lawn chair.
He lived.
Apparently, somehow.
In theory.
Yeah.
They've not confirmed that.
Like a 7-story building and 2 back-breaking injuries.
He's John Wick, bro.
He
lived.
60 years old in real life.
Yeah, we're about to get to that. So anyway, if you're thinking he died, so did we, and you're not alone. But they reportedly talked about a 5th installment, and the 60-year-old actor was trying to be as optimistic as he could, but he described how difficult it would be, stating, "You can never say never, but my knees right now are saying you can't do another John Wick." Since its 2014 debut, the franchise has spawned 4 entries into the film series, as well as a prequel series on Peacock titled The Continental, while grossing over $1 billion in the box office. In terms of what comes next for John Wick, what we do know is The Ballerina, starring Ana de Armas, is on the way, which seemingly is like the next person to take on the mantle, not of John Wick, because it's not like James Bond, but like to lead the franchise. It seems like Ana de Armas, who is a lot younger than Keanu. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to go if they're wanting to continue the money train that is the John Wick franchise going. I think that's the best way to do it instead of bringing in a 5th installment to a character that's probably dead. But I digress. Keanu has gone on and has answered this question many a times, and it's always in the last few years it's been kind of like, I don't know. This has been the most definitive probably no we've heard from him since the 4th installment. However, he did say if he were to do another John Wick, he wouldn't do it without Chad Stahelski, who is the series director. And he says, for me, it feels really right that John Wick finds peace. Jake, does John Wick find peace? Do we think there's ever going to be a 5th installment?
I think we've got to look back into meme history. So something that just happened was the knee surgery meme.
Yeah.
Maybe it was about Keanu. So this meme is like already half baked to begin with, but it's like me win knee surgery tomorrow or something. There's always someone like super happy about it. Well, that could be Keanu, and we could get a John Wick 5. So me win Keanu Reeves knee surgery.
It's funny you say that about Keanu Reeves and a knee injury, because that is something that had happened recently, actually. And it's like, and recently is in like a couple years ago. I didn't do the research on this specific film, but, and I wasn't even going to bring it up, but you saying knee injury is a really funny segue, and I'm going off of memory here, but Keanu was in another interview, and I think it was with Entertainment Weekly, and he talked about he was in a comedy movie, and I cannot remember what the name of it was, but he legit cracked his knee. It was apparently a really severe knee injury. He's described his knee cracking like a potato chip is what he described it like it was bad. So maybe he said specifically his knees are saying no. on top of him going on record to say, "Hey, my knee broke pretty bad not that long ago." Maybe it's time to put the character to rest. Maybe we've seen his end. Maybe it's not the best ending. The thing is, as much as it sucks, you can give the character the ride off into the sunset without giving him a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, he won, I guess, technically the fight in
Yeah.
that movie. Like that was the crescendo. That was it.
Yeah.
You know, John Wick just there he lies, and so it's kind of you don't get to ride off into the sunset, but you can easily just go off of that.
Yeah.
I think for number 5, or just leave it. You know, that is the end of the boogeyman. But if you do have a 5, then that just plays more into the boogeyman. So
Yeah, he lives. Oh, he's literally Michael Myers at that point.
Yeah, it's very scary for if you were in that world and you see a guy who just
Fell 7 stories.
On a fire escape backwards. So it did not like he folded forward like a normal person does. He landed on it on his back.
He lawn chaired the wrong way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he fell another 3 down to the pavement.
No, see, I mean, yeah, I guess it would add to the story. If he lives, I would like give me again the ballerina, but like maybe it's like she's in some sort of base, like a Mission Impossible type, and you just see like, why don't we bring in John? And they're like, nah, he's retired. And you see his face, like he's sent in like he's a picture where like now he's a family man or something, or now he has his dog. You know, he's just like, you don't have
in a wheelchair.
He's in a wheelchair, right? Like in a wheelchair with his dog on his lap. He's like in Hawaii or something. And he's just like, that's a good way. Or maybe like at the end of the ballerina, like she visits him and he still is like a mentor, but he's retired because he broke his back. Like he literally can't do it anymore. He barely survived his last encounter. He has reasons beyond his vengeful nature now, you know, and whether that was forced or whether that he finds it after he was forced. Regardless, I think there are ways to not make Keanu Reeves destroy his 60-year-old, soon to be 61-year-old frame for our enjoyment, to give that character that piece.
He's gonna be old Bruce Wayne from Batman Beyond, like with a cane.
That would be cool though.
Yeah.
I would enjoy seeing old man John Wick. He's technically already older, but
Yeah.
like give him the white hair, let him cut his hair off, but not actually cut Keanu Reeves' hair because apparently he doesn't do that. But like,
No.
you know, let him wear some sort of like wig or something, and he's like old man John Wick, and he's like he could still shoot a gun, but he's now old Bruce. He's just the man in the chair. I think that'd be a cool way to continue the character and allow him to find that peace that Keanu talks about. So I guess in short, probably not. Shouldn't be anyway.
No, people probably wouldn't really like that avenue.
No.
They think it probably castrates John Wick.
No, but
He's supposed to be cool, man.
dude, he lawn chaired the wrong way.
Well, he's supposed to be able to walk away from that. It's a movie. I don't care.
He killed my dog.
It's like a video game, right? I'm supposed to get back up, man.
Respawn.
Yeah,
respawn.
I'm just supposed to take a stem, and I'm supposed to go back to fighting.
Helldivers meme.
Yeah.
Just straight to the liberty. Just stem up.
Yep.
Anywho, moving on, our final piece of major news before we move on to our final segment, which as always is what you should know before you go. In a stunning move, Sony continues to blame everyone but itself for the rise and fall of its cinematic universe, but seems to insinuate that the franchise may not be dead as previously reported. Sony Pictures CEO Tony Vinciquerra specifically attacks the media and critics for the poor reviews and box office reception to his company's film, stating in an interview to the LA Times, Madam Web underperformed in the theaters because the press just crucified it. It was not a bad film. It did great on Netflix. For some reason, the press decided that they didn't want us making these films out of Craven and Madam Web, and the critics just destroyed them. These are not terrible films. Emphasis on he's saying these are not terrible films. Where was I? Sorry. These are not terrible films. They were just destroyed by the critics and the press for some reason. So during the disgruntled CEO's time running Sony Pictures starting in 2017, none of the independent Sony live-action Spider-adjacent films have reached anything above a 58% on Rotten Tomatoes. The only 3 films from this era, from this dude's era running Sony Pictures, to earn anything substantial in the box office was Venom 1, 2, and 3. And I think that's more because Tom Hardy's a great creator and a great actor, less because Sony did a good job. You could poke all kind of holes in even those 3 films. So it's kind of sad to see. But the most important part about this whole thing, because you might be asking, wait, didn't you say that maybe Sony's Spider-adjacent films aren't done? The disgruntled CEO again continued to spread light, albeit minimal, into the future of the franchise, saying, quote, I do think we need to rethink it just because it's snake bitten. If we put another one out, it's going to get destroyed no matter how good or bad it is. Emphasis on rethink it. Emphasis on if we put another one out. Because that isn't the talk of somebody who says, hey, I'm done. That's the talk of somebody who's thinking about the future. Specifically with these takeaways, it is reported Olivia Wilde, who was attached to a Spider-Woman film, might not be out of the Spider-Woman film. So what, Jake? These films are terrible. I don't think anyone will deny, outside of the Venom, the 3 Venoms. And again, you could poke all kinds of holes in them, but outside of that, they're just not good, right? No matter how bad Tony wants you to believe otherwise, how does Sony rebuild? How do they get back into, say it is critics destroying them, right? Before even giving them a chance. How does Sony get back in the good graces of the media and apparently the public as a whole? Because, they failed for a reason.
So first of all, I want to rebut his Netflix saying it did well on Netflix because people didn't want to go to the theater to watch that crappy ass movie. People watched Madam Web at home, got to make fun of it with their family, and I don't know where he's getting that these are good films. And it wasn't just the press and the critics that destroyed them. I trust the critics, with a grain of salt. I trust somewhat of what they say. The press, maybe. I disagree with a lot of like video game reviews with press, like even IGN might not get it right for me. But the general audience, the memes that I see and what people are saying on social media, that's not the press. That's not the critics. That is just a generalization of the people who watched it. These movies sucked.
Yeah.
So I don't know where he's getting that they're good movies. Madam Web, like I said before in other segments, probably was written by AI, and they're going to keep that and take it to their graves. I believe it 100%. That had to be a COVID AI written film. There's no way.
I'm so happy you say that, because how often do we see film and film reviews differ from critic to audience score? How many films are like that? Venom is one. All 3 Venoms are like that, where the critics hated it and audience loved it. So for him to say that and insinuate that the critics are influencing the audience when audiences don't trust critics, it's just, it's malarkey. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So I don't know where he's, talking out of his butt, but I don't think we'll see him leave, even though
he should be fired.
If you think those movies are good and are continuing to come out with things that do not make money from a business standpoint, if he has any say in it, he should probably not be the one making decisions. How do we rebound from this? I mean, it's not necessarily, you don't start doing fan service, but like you start listening a little bit and then you can weed through like what is more feasible. So, we've thrown out like a Batman Beyond. I don't know if they probably don't have the rights for that, but like art styles like Miles Morales and doing stuff like that, or even going into Miles Morales, or even other characters within that, or like a Spider Noir movie could probably do really well, especially if they either keep the same art style or do a little bit something fun with the noir style. I think you could have a Spider Noir movie do really well. So that's one of my suggestions for a rebound of that franchise. I don't think you need to do any more live action Spider-Man crossovers. I think that might be kind of done already. Let's move on and stop making villains the good guys. I'd love to see Craven in a more, not rated R, but like in a really harsh Craven movie. He is
true to material.
Like Craven's supposed to be hunting Spider-Man's head, so make that so. Or have him go against Spider-Man. Go back to what you were doing with like Amazing Spider-Man, not so much with like 3 or 4 villains in one film, but make him go up against Electro or not Electro, but we've already seen that, but like make him go up against Craven. How does even Aaron Taylor Johnson against Tom Holland, or whoever's going to be the next Spider-Man, or if Tom Holland's it, make them to go up against each other, and you make Craven as bloodthirsty as he was in the comics. I think people just want to see what happened in the comics. Maybe a new story, but like that's the Craven we know and we love, and write it. Get a good writer too. I think that helps.
Yeah, and back to your point about Vince Aquera, something that I would love to learn his background, because everything he's saying comes from a perspective of just complete disconnect from the audience and from seemingly film in general. He just doesn't seem to understand. If he thinks these are good movies, again, what's he watching? I would love to see his background.
Red One.
Yeah, Red One.
He's watching Red One.
I would guarantee, I could almost guarantee, I don't want to say for a fact because he probably got to where he is for a reason, but I would almost guarantee that he comes from a background that is not straight film. So it sounds like he doesn't understand his own business. But to answer the question that you just, I think you hit it right on the head without directly saying it. Spider-Man. That's how you fix it.
That's one of the only things that I know like Sony has rights to right off the top of my head. I know they have Spider-Man.
I mean, we talked about it a few weeks before. Sony has no reason not to use him.
Right.
They're not barred with their deal with Disney. They're just not. So now that this is not dead in the water like we talked about before, dude, I don't even care. You don't have to have them all connected. Beat Disney to the punch with Miles Morales. Do it right. Make Tobey Maguire 4. Bring back Sam Raimi. Make Andrew Garfield 3. Just do what fans want.
Yeah, I wonder if that would saturate the market with Spider-Man. But like what if you had one year it was Tobey Maguire, you had the other year it was Andrew Garfield? Like, would that oversaturate the Spider-Man market, or would you tap into each audience or overlapping audiences that love every single Spider-Man that there ever was?
Thing is, Disney, the main reason that Sony hasn't used Spider-Man, as we talked about before, was because they felt like the multiverse kind of put a line in the sand. I feel like the multiverse allows you to do even more. Like, you kind of get to walk the line that Disney like put in the sand and say, look, you made these multiverses so we can make these films because they're ours. We own Spider-Man.
I would not make them multiverse
No.
mentioning, but like, because you have opened up the multiverse and you have introduced all of these new characters, you now have the opportunity for, as scary as it is, spin-offs like
even
noir.
DC with the Elseworlds. Like the thing is, like, they're competitors, and because as much as they've worked together in the past, Disney's a competitor. They're more like friends because they have to be, not because they want to be. So, like, again, Disney and even DC, if you look at the Elseworlds concept, they've written the rules, follow them. People want to see, and you talk about oversaturate the market, yes, to an extent. People want to see a sequel to both of those franchises. Do it. You made the first however many films, 5 films in those 2 franchises respectively. Make the next 2. You want to, like, people want Miles Morales live action. Disney is they're dragging their toes a little bit. They're trying to get the right story. Obviously, you want them to do it right, but you're in a position where you're not trying to build off something else. Yeah. You can just say, here's Miles Morales. We're building from scratch.
It could be like the next Black Panther. Like, Miles Morales could be huge.
He would be huge. Yeah. So it's like, why? Now that they've kind of opened the door for this opportunity, they're talking about rethinking things. It's simple. Spider-Man. Stop making these exactly what you said, these heroes out of these villains. Make them true to source material and give the people what they want. Fan service will get you so far, especially when it's something they've asked for, not something that, like, oh, well, yeah, like Disney brought back Toby and Andrew because they knew people would be excited for them, but no one was asking for them to come back. Like, at least not to my knowledge. I don't know anyone who's going, Disney, you should bring in Andrew. People were saying, well, that would be cool. Sony has such an advantage because people are asking for this.
I think Toby could be like, I'm thinking about it when he came back. I looked at him and I was like, oh man, has it really been that long? Toby was showing some age, but that could open it up to be like that depressive Spider-Man we've mentioned in past segments. That's like, that would be an awesome, sadder, not pulling punches Spider-Man played by Toby. I think he could do it. He's played other, like the chess game. I've seen the emotion out of Toby as an actor before. I think he could do it.
What if, like, maybe you decide not to go out. You don't want to oversaturate the market with these Elseworlds, right? You don't want to do too many. What if one of Andrew or Toby is the guy above Miles, and Miles is just in that universe, and you expand upon one of the 2 already set? Like, these are things that would work.
Yeah.
Unequivocally.
So, I don't know. Come on, Sony. Dig yourself out of the hole.
They have every opportunity to. I'll be interested to see if they have I don't even want to say the brass. I'm going to say the brain cells to do it.
Man,
it's ridiculous. It's straight ignorance is the reason they're in this position in the first place. And what's irksome to me the most is that they have every opportunity to get out of it still. Will they do that?
Probably not.
Coming up after the break, we're going to end there because I'm getting frustrated. Last but not least, what you should know before you go. Coming up after the break. Welcome back, everybody. You've made it to segment 3, what you should know before you go. And so, as always, I just wanted to say thank you for listening. Thank you for making it this far. You guys are amazing. Hit the like, comment. If there's a poll, vote. Do whatever you want to do. We'd love to see your opinions. We'd love to see you disagree with us. We'd love to see you guys tell us what we should watch or what we should talk about. But as always, thank you so much for listening and making it this far. It really does mean a lot to us. In other news, we've been alluding to it, or I've been alluding to it for the majority of the episode, and I almost want to throw it to Jake because he specifically told me not to, but I will not. I just have every urge to. But me and Jake watched Nosferatu almost 3 hours ago, just came out of the theaters, came straight here to record. So later in the week, there will be a Nosferatu review episode where we discuss everything from what we think, the story, the visuals, kind of what went wrong, what they did right. So if you are into that kind of thing, you like review episodes, kind of like what we did last week with the 6 Christmas films, but dedicated to one singular movie, you will love that. So keep that in mind for later in the week. But first, you're listening to this. And while we're here, we're going to talk about what you should know before you go. Some quick news. Happy Gilmore 2's trailer drops during Netflix's debut live NFL broadcast. The sequel is, as broadly noted, more than 28 years after the original. Jake, what do you think?
I'm gonna quote my mother here, and once she saw that ad come across, she was like, Gilmore 2? We don't need that.
What?
We don't need that. Isn't he old? Isn't Adam Sandler old? And I was like, I don't know how old he is. Isn't he like about as old as you, Mom?
Those who are our age when that came out are like, dude, huh? There's like, it's shocking.
So Adam Sandler is, let me type in the age. 58. So he's actually older than my mom. So she's not too far off. Isn't he old?
Isn't it weird that Adam Sandler and Keanu Reeves are about the same age?
Yeah, I mean, it looks.
Keanu looks older than Adam.
He's got a little bit more gray.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and mom doesn't mean old as in like she just thinks he's too old to play another Happy
Athlete.
Gilmore.
Yeah.
Or like Happy Gilmore was so young in the movie, and so she's like, why in the world is he playing Happy Gilmore again in his late 50s? And I was like, well, he's got a beard now, so maybe he's old too. And she's like, we don't need that. We don't need that. And I'm kind of, I don't know. I liked Happy Gilmore 1, so I look forward to seeing what this new story is. But it's just bringing back a lot of the same people, and it's just probably going to boil down to another golf match where Happy hits a crazy one.
Yeah, I feel like back to what your mom was saying, Adam Sandler and I should say Happy Gilmore was just a crazy athlete. Like he was gifted to hit the long drive
with a like I don't even know if it's gifted. It's crazy luck, but also
he's super strong, like athletic, and now he's almost 60. So how does that translate like as an athlete? Like I think your mom's completely right. He's too old to be playing an athlete. You know, like and believably, he is an athlete in real life. Like he's all the time hooping, you know, in New York. He's from the area. So it's like not shocking that he's still playing an athlete, but believability is like a big part of watching these stories. So
well, like imagine Uncut Gems Adam Sandler going
right, yeah, because he looked old.
Yeah.
So it's a little
which I don't in the trailer he didn't look grayish. He was like a more full black beard.
Yeah. He definitely dyed it just for men.
Yeah.
He dyed that thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably. Jet black.
The film is written by longtime Sandler collaborator Tim Herlihy and is directed by Kyle Newacek, who is the producer of Stranger in the Woods and What We Do in the Shadows, the series. The film stars, obviously, Adam Sandler, Margaret Qualley, Ben Stiller, and so many more, as well as a plethora of celebrity appearances, including Travis Kelce and a lot more. So keep your eye out for that one. I'm interested. I just hope that it's not another diluted sequel. I just don't think we needed it.
I don't think Happy Gilmore's grandma, is she going to be in
She's
this?
dead.
Right.
Gotta be.
She's got to be dead.
Well, Ben Stiller was abusing her.
Well,
so
yeah, that's what I'm getting at is who's Ben Stiller going to abuse this
I love
one?
the idea of his grandma's in it, but he looks like that grandma from early SpongeBob, where she's just like the worm-looking thing.
Yeah.
That's what I would imagine.
Chocolate.
Sweet. I've always hated it. Yeah, that's what I want. that's what I want.
Can't have chocolate.
Yeah. Live forever, you can say. Yeah, that's what I want.
Yep.
Anyway, moving on. It's been a busy week for Warner Brothers. Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17, starring Robert Pattinson, and Ryan Coogler's Sinners, starring Michael B. Jordan, have switched release dates, with Mickey 17 now releasing March 7th, with Sinners arriving April 18th. Those dates were the same. They're just now flipped. Mickey 17's synopsis is, quote, a disposable employee sent on a human expedition to colonize the ice world of Niflheim. After one iteration dies, a new body is regenerated with most of his memories intact and is based off of the novel Mickey 7 by Ashton Edward, while Sinner's synopsis is, quote, trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. A lot of vampire talk today, but I think this film is also about vampires. Which are you more excited for, Jake?
I haven't heard a single peep about these until reading the
No
script.
way. I've seen a lot about Mickey 17.
Mickey 17. I've probably, if I had to say both of them, I might have seen something about Sinners, and that's it. But I
Really?
didn't pay attention to them. So, with Michael B. Jordan, you'll get all the hot and heavy moms coming to see Michael. I think he's whatever the hottest man of whatever year. I think he was already named one of the hottest guys of year 2021. I don't know what year, but I think he's got the hold on the moms of America. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's technically a vampire. Which one is this? Tom Cruise?
And
Which one was Tom Cruise in?
That's you're talking about for the news?
Yeah.
That's the next one.
That's the next
So we will get to that here in a second.
Sorry.
No, you're good. But for me, and the reason he's saying that is because it's the same source for both of the next two, or for this one and the next piece of news. So that's okay. I figured that would be confusing, and I'm sorry. But they're all related because the next one, the Tom Cruise one we're going to talk about, is also by Warner Brothers, and that got a date push. Anywho, back to the question, which are we more excited for? For me personally, I've seen a lot about Mickey 17. They have a teaser out. They've technically got a teaser for both. Ryan Coogler he did Creed, so he's worked with Michael B. Jordan before, and he's done Black Panther. So he's got a reputation. He's a great filmmaker, a fantastic storyteller. So I'm excited for Sinners, but Bong Joon-ho did Parasites. So obviously, which won Academy Awards. So I think Black Panther did as well. But anyway, both Academy Award winning directors. I'm really excited for Bong Joon-ho because I've seen it longer. Like I hadn't heard of Sinners until more recently. So just for me personally, I've had my eye on Mickey 17 a little bit longer. But I can tell you, the more I've looked into Sinners, the more my intrigue grows. So for right now, just because of longevity, Mickey 17. I think Robert Pattinson in the teaser looks hilarious. Like he puts on an accent and it's really interesting. And I love the idea that the memories stay intact. In the teaser, he meets one of his clones that didn't die, and so it's like it seems like it's really intriguing to me. So,
Yeah.
But
very sci-fi, very
which I
fantasy.
adore.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in what Sinners will look like as well, though.
And then Stephen Yeun.
Yeah,
Yoon. Sorry.
Yeah, from The Walking Dead.
And then Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, it looks like it'll be really good.
Oh yeah.
And so now on to the news that we were talking about a second ago. Tom Cruise and Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu, which is quite a name, who is the director of The Revenant, have taken the Batman 2's 2026 release date, as I put 2027 on the script, my apologies, the 2026 release date of October 2nd. So the Batman 2 gets pushed out, also a Warner Brothers film, gets pushed out to 2027, and in its October 2nd, 2026 release date is, in fact, this new film, untitled, as you might mind, but as we will see, Tom Cruise, new release date. The logline, according to Warner Brothers, is, quote, the most powerful man in the world embarks on a frantic mission to prove he is humanity's savior before the disaster he's unleashed destroys everything. The cast includes Sandra Hüller, John Goodman, Michael Stuhlbarg, Jesse Plemons, Sophie Wilde, and so many more. Do we need another Mission Impossible-esque franchise, Jake?
Is that what this is?
That's what it feels like. I mean, like listen.
You put Tom Cruise on anything, you think it's going to be Mission Impossible.
But listen, the most powerful man in the world embarks on a frantic mission.
Well, that doesn't sound like the special agent from Mission Impossible.
Bomb. No, to me that just feels like another type of Mission Impossible, just with a different like put a different lens on it. Like let's color grade it blue instead of like red.
Well, I'm too busy decoding the log line, trying to think about a story and any type of fiction or pop culture who is on a frantic mission to prove he's humanity's savior before the disaster he unleashed destroys everything. Like, is this the likelihood of this being an original story is, I think it's like a 60-40.
Low.
It's low. So like 40% it's probably going to be original, 60% it's going to be based on something. And that's what I'm trying to go through in my head. So I'm too busy on the log line trying to be like, is Tom Cruise going to be Jesus? Like, or like humanity's savior? Like, no, that's what I was going through.
How is he the most powerful man? Like, is he wealthy?
That's why I'm saying he's like, is it Jesus? Tom Cruise is Jesus? No, probably not. But
Tom Cruise plays Jesus before he knows about his power. He's just like, oh,
Yeah, but like what knocks that out is like the disaster he's unleashed destroys everything. I don't
Yeah.
remember Jesus doing anything like that.
It
you
just seems to me something like Mission Impossible. I think that
Okay.
with Inerrant, again, from The Revenant, which The Revenant was very down to earth. You know, like it wasn't like a crazy like sci-fi story.
Did it do well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Very good film. So I just feel as if this will look a lot different than Mission Impossible, but I fear based off of the log line that it will lean more towards it. So I hope it's different. I think it's got all the facilities to be different, but who knows? I just to answer the question. Sorry, go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Does Tom Cruise usually carry like weight when he's recording? Like I think Mission Impossible, they let him choose a lot of things that happen, especially stunt.
Oh
wise.
yeah.
But I wonder if he'll. Sorry,
No, you're good.
Ryan. Rudefully got a notification.
I got a text in the middle of the show. How could I?
But yeah, so I don't know if Tom Cruise is going to have a lot of word on this one, and that could be the deciding factor whether or not it feels too Mission Impossible-y.
I would imagine he would, though. If we don't get Tom Cruise running at full speed for at least 15 minutes of runtime, as we do in every other Tom Cruise film, I boycott.
Or skydiving, or climbing a tower,
or holding onto the side of a plane.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's straight practical.
Yeah.
Just as it's flying.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Simon Pegg's going to show up and no, just,
oh, jeez.
No, I mean, that's it, really. That's all the news we got. Jake, do you have any final thoughts on anything we talked about?
You're never too old to fall 7 stories and then get up and go play golf.
Again, lawn chair the wrong way.
And yeah, or to play golf.
Or to play golf. I imagine he's the wheelchair bound Happy Gilmore is what he turns into.
But he still hits the hole in ones.
He is so accurate, deadly accurate, you could say. Yeah. My final thoughts are we don't need another Mission Impossible. And bum. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. That's been our show. We'll see you later this week. See ya.
Yeah.